Hello, my name is Crystal Thomas. I'm the digital archivist at FSU's libraries, especially under Special Collections and Archives. And as part of my work, I oversee the Digital Library Center, or the DLC as we call it. And part of the work that we do there is we handle community digitization projects in the local area. This is an effort to bring online collections that would remain hidden or difficult to access. So we see that as a responsibility at FSU that we can help in the local community. And I am thrilled to finally be able to come and talk about the project we did with the Havana History and Heritage Society starting about 2 years ago to bring a very unique set of materials online. So just to get us started, a little background information about the DLC at FSU Libraries. What that is a digitization production studio, which allows us to do large volumes of materials much more quickly than you can at home. It also allows us to do large format materials such as the Havana scrapbooks. So what is the story that, of the work that we did with the Havana History and Heritage Society? I was very excited to hear about the materials that Donna was describing, and also excited that the Society would expand us outside of Tallahassee proper. It was the perfect type of project and organization to keep us growing our community digitization program and bringing the history of Big Bend and North Florida online in a bigger way. So in March of 2019, almost 2 years ago to the day that we're recording this, I drove out to see the scrapbooks and to visit the museum for the first time. I had really terrible allergies. My eyes were running. I was probably a snotty mess, to be honest, but I was so excited to see the materials. I came anyway because I wanted to make sure I felt we could digitize these in a way that would make the Society happy about how they were being presented, but also make sure we didn't damage the materials during the digitization process. I also wanted to see what we were actually talking about. How big were these books? How many pages? What were the materials in the books that potentially might create some challenges during digitization? Scrapbooks are probably the coolest materials an archive or museum can hold. And so everyone wants to digitize them, but they do present some really unique challenges during the digitization process, and I'll talk about more in a little bit. But I wanted to make sure and see them first, that we could present a good final digital product that everyone was going to be happy with. So after getting a look at the books, I put together what we call Project Charter that just kind of outlined what are we actually agreeing to do with the scrapbooks. How are they going to look online? How are they going to present online? Sort of what was the transfer going to look like of the materials to FSU from the museum? And also, we always want to sign what we call a digitization agreement, and that just outlines permission for FSU to share these materials online, as well as any copyright issues that may occur with the materials, to make sure everyone's just on board with that. Once all of that was okayed and agreed upon, the scrapbooks were transferred to FSU Libraries in May of 2019. So once we had the scrapbooks at FSU, I really got to dig into them and start to do all the preparation work that's required for digitization. When I had first taken a look at them, I started to float the idea we might need to disbind or basically dismember them for digitization. However, before we put that in writing or really agreed to it, I wanted my preservation librarian as well as my digital studio manager to take a look to confirm my hunch. The reason we want to disbind larger objects like this, particularly when they have so many pages, is as they open, it's really hard to get a good image of the pages because the pages won't lie flat. So taking them apart gets rid of what we call the gutter of the book and makes sure the pages lie flat so we can get a really good crisp image of the objects. My hunch was correct. We were going to want to take apart 5 of the 7 scrapbooks. The other 2 scrapbooks were already 3-ring binders, so it was really easy for us to already remove the pages to get a good digital image of them. So I'm going to get into the weeds for a little bit about what we actually did in terms of prepping and digitizing these materials. So as they were getting disbound, I really sat down and made sure I wrote out for all of my staff that were going to be working on this project, what were the deliverables, what were the end goals that we were going to put online with these materials. And that means I made very detailed notes for every single scrapbook about all the different places they might run into challenges. And just generally, scrapbooks, like I said, are really cool, but they're really challenging for a couple of different reasons. One, they have lots of loose objects. So we want to make sure we're not losing track of anything during digitization, but we're also capturing them to the best of our ability for presentation online. There are also lots of loose photographs and negatives. So we not only want to make sure we're capturing them for presentation online, but that we're handling them with gloves correctly. There are also programs and booklets that get just glued onto pages, but that they have lots of pages of their own. So we have to discuss, one, how are we capturing them, and two, how will they present in an online environment? I also, at this point, created what we call a metadata record for each scrapbook. It's just a really fancy term for something most people recognize as a library catalog record, and that just makes it possible for people to search and find the object once it's in the digital library online. So at FSU, we're lucky that we have an entire digital production space with the equipment and software needed to really capture these materials for sharing in the digital library. As I said, we used our large format overhead camera to digitize the society scrapbooks. We also use, and this is a screenshot of it, really specialized imaging software that helps us with this work. And basically it lets us do this work a lot faster than you would potentially be able to do at home. We set up the software to do auto cropping so that it's straightening, it's making sure that the color balance is correct for every image, and we only have to set that once, and then the software does it for us for every other image we take after. It also allows us to batch process images at the end of a project, so we can set the settings once again, and then it will be given to every image that's part of that scrapbook as part of our processing before we can actually load it into the digital library. But our goal is always to make sure what we're imaging is as close as possible to the original, so the digital experience is as close to the physical experience. So once we have the images and we have that metadata record for each scrapbook, I process those into what we call ingest packages for loading into the digital library. And this means I create a few more files for two reasons. One, so that when we load them, they know where to go in the digital library. And also they know what order to display the pages in, so that you're not getting a scrapbook that has pages going every which way. You're actually getting them in the order you would see it in the book. We also did decide to load a set of photographs that were loose in one of the scrapbooks as individual objects, because we thought that would help with their discoverability. There is obviously in the metadata a link from that photograph to the original scrapbook, so its provenance is maintained. The scrapbooks and photographs were then placed here, as you can see in the screenshots. Right one, right? Okay. And this is the Havana History and Heritage Society collection as it exists in FSU's digital repository. It might be a little difficult to see, but in the middle, top middle of that page, there is a description. It's explaining who the society is, what they do, and a link to the society's webpage. In that little about this collection space, there's information about who worked on the project, and then the project documentation makes it very transparent, all those decisions I just explained, how we were going to capture things in envelopes, what we were going to do about booklets and programs and how they exist. So if anyone using this collection has questions about what decisions we made, they would be able to find out. And then also you can see on this page how you can easily start to browse or search the collection. You can sort the results, you can start to limit your results by what we call facets there on the left. And that's just using the information in the metadata record to let people more efficiently access the collection. So I knew I wasn't going to have internet here, but I did want to show you what this actually looks like in the digital library. So I created a little video. And we're going to go ahead and hit play. So this is me in the web browser, and I'm going to click on the 1916-1927 scrapbook here in a moment. And then I'm going to wait patiently, because it's not always the fastest system for the big books, and these are definitely big books. And as that loads, you can, oh, here it goes, there, it loads. And here you see we use what we call a book viewer to display this, so that you can page through that scrapbook just like you would as if it were in front of you in the table. You can also skip ahead and throughout the book using that slider there at the bottom, and I will demonstrate that in a moment in the video. and you can jump around. It might take a minute for the page to load, but you can jump around in it. You can also then page backwards if you've gone too far. So it's just like if the object were sitting right in front of you. However, digital can be a little cooler. So we can make this big and take up more of your screen space because these are big objects, but we can also search in them. So I did want to take the opportunity to just talk a little bit about, we got the scrapbooks online, we got them accessible through digital, FSU's digital repository, we returned the physical scrapbooks to the society for you to enjoy. What comes next for these scrapbooks? And the answer is the Digital Public Library of America. What on earth is DPLA, as we call it? DPLA is attempting to gather information about digitized materials from hundreds of thousands of archives, libraries, and museums all over the United States of America. They're specifically looking to bring together the big collections, so the Smithsonian and the National Archives, alongside smaller collections like the Havana History and Heritage Society scrapbooks, which are in DPLA via the Sunshine State Digital Network. And they really want to do that to allow for a broader historical picture to be available via primary resources through an online search. And so a little bit, and I'm going to go pretty fast here, I mentioned the Sunshine State Digital Network, and what SSDN is, because we love acronyms, is the service hub for the state of Florida. And what that means is they coordinate the collecting of all of the metadata from content partners and give that to DPLA so it appears in DPLA search results. And to date, SSDN has shared around 300,000 records with DPLA from 24 partners, of which the Havana History and Heritage Society is one. And I did just want to close by saying I really loved working on this project. I find my work with our community partners to be some of the most rewarding work that I get to do, and I really look forward to more projects potentially with the Havana History and Heritage Society in the very near future. Thank you.